Yeah, that's right. I see the chat. I see y'all rocking. I see y'all coming. Hit that like button as you enter the building. You know what I'm saying? Hit that like button. Show your love. Show your support. You know what I'm saying? This that dope soul. This that new thing. Nobody don't know about it.
Hello, Knick family. Welcome to the Lunchtime Live recap and reaction show. The New York Knicks lost to the Miami Heat in Miami. What was that? 115 to 107 behind poor shooting, to say the least, and lackluster defense. I'm joined by Jeff Klafter from the Happily Ever Klafter Daily Sports Blog. The link to his daily sports blog is in the description, as well as panelists on the Just KNICKIN weekly show. Jeff. Now, we were without Miles McBride. It makes a difference. Obviously, we've been without Mitch. If we have those two guys, there's a better chance of winning. But even without those two players, I still think we could have and should have won that game last night. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I absolutely 100% agree. We should have won, but it's the league. You got to come out every night and you got to play the right way, and you got to do the right things. And the people who see this may not want to hear this, but I kind of think that's a game that Tom Thibodeau would have won. And the reason I say that is this: what does Tibbs do? He overplays his starters and all of those fun things, but and in the long run, that's a detriment. But in the short term, sometimes this is what you get when you're going to play 9 guys and you're going to give the bench extended minutes when they don't necessarily deserve it. Sometimes you're going to walk into this, and I think it's tough to argue that our bench guys cost us this game. I thought our bench was atrocious tonight. And a very disappointing performance from them. But you look at the starters, and they were really good. So it's kind of an odd breakdown, but it's just the way that it played out. And I know we're going to get into individual players, but it's a shame to waste a Jalen Brunson performance like that on an L.
Yeah, I think you bring up two good points. You can argue that Mike Brown was similar to Thibodeau in the sense that he's going to stick to his guns. He's going to play a certain amount of players. There's a specific time in which they play. There's a specific time in which they rest. And regardless of what's going on in the game, at least it's just a short sample size. This is what it looked like last night. I'm not going to bring them in early. Now, you can't praise him for, when it works out. Oh, he's showing confidence, in the bench players. He's allowing them to rock even when things get hard. He's allowing them to figure it out instead of rushing the starters back in, and you praise him. But then when it doesn't work, what the hell is he doing? Why did he allow Brunson to sit so long? Me personally, I want flexibility. If the team out there is playing well, leave them out there. If they're not playing well, bring back in who you need to bring back in. I thought Brunson sat too long, in my opinion. He was hot. He was playing well. I don't know if his thinking was, no matter what type of hole we're in, if we bring Brunson back and he's rested and fresh, he'll be able to dig us out of that hole. And I'm not saying that's what he was thinking. I'm guessing, no one knows. But my thinking is, even if you are fresh, it's a lot to come back in, heat back up, hit shots, dig us, out the hole. Like that's asking a lot. So I would have liked, I want Mike Brown to have a better process than Tom Thibodeau. And that is, what is the game saying? What is the game calling for? What lineups is going to be better? And the other thing I'll say is the bench did not play well. I do agree with you, but I don't think our starters play well either. OG Anunoby was 4 for 13. He took 12 3-pointers. He hit,
Four
you
of them.
know, he hit 4 of them. He did have 6 rebounds. I don't know, Jeff. The rebounding, I don't know, might be coming along. 1 assist, 3 steals, 1 block. Karl Anthony Towns, 2 for 8, in foul trouble. He has to do better in that regard. We need him on the floor, but he did have 18 rebounds, 2 assists, 1 steal, 2 blocks. Mikal, oh, that was the 3-point shot. I'm like, he only took 3 shots? He was good. 7 for 11. Brunson was 14 of 26. I thought they could have been better too, but I do agree with you. There's a difference between having this so-called deep bench in terms of bodies, but a deep bench to me is you have a bench that performs, not just people you can put out there, but they perform when you do, and that didn't happen last night. Any other thoughts?
To be clear, that's not a criticism of Mike Brown per se. Like I don't think he did it wrong. I'm just saying that it's a different coaching style and it's something that we're going to have to get used to. It's not a right or wrong kind of a thing. It's just how he approaches the game, which is fine. He didn't miss all those 3-pointers, right? So I'm not casting blame on Mike Brown. I'm not saying he cost us the game. I would prefer that we have at least one of Towns or Brunson on the floor at all times. I don't like the lineups where both of them sit. I understand Towns' foul trouble kind of, created that to a certain extent, but I'm not a fan of that. At any time, regardless, I think you got to have one of your all NBA players. We have that luxury. There's no sense in sitting them both at the same time, in my opinion. Stagger those lineups and make sure that they're okay to go at the end. And if Towns is in foul trouble, then maybe Brunson needs to extend those minutes a little bit more for the night, and you just you deal with it. But I think that I don't like the idea of sitting both of those guys for long stretches, because where does our offense come from? It is a bizarre choice in my opinion.
Yeah, I don't know if I would call it criticism. I'm just saying this is something I don't like. I just think you have to change the lineups if they're not working. And I get it. You want to. Listen, if you want to extend if the first time they cut into the lead, you're calling a timeout and you're taking guys out, that's one thing. But time after the hole is deepening and deepening and deepening and deepening, then yeah, you do have to.
End of the third, start of the fourth, especially. That was it was an 81 game, and then it was 93-81 in the blink of an eye. And that was all she wrote. We didn't really put much pressure on them after that run, despite Brunson playing well in down the stretch. That it just was, Clarkson missed an easy one, and that kind of helped spell our demise. But I'm not a big Jordan Clarkson fan, and he's not doing much to improve my thinking on him. He looks like exactly the player that I thought he was, and I know small sample size with him and Yabu as well, but when you're saying the same thing about it in preseason, figure it out. Like, how long are we going to have to wait? Like, they've looked like, I'm calling him Yabu the Hutt right now. He looks big and slow, and he's not making shots, and it's only 3 games and the whole bit, but he's got to be better if he wants rotation minutes. If he's going to play that poorly, then there are other guys I would rather see them. I'd rather see Huck Porty if he's going to do that.
I didn't think Huck Porty played well either. I think they'll be better over time, and I get it. When we're saying it's only 20 games, I think then maybe. But I think they're still finding their way. I do think that over the course of the season, Yabu will drop some weight. He did his Precious Achua impression last night when he got an offensive rebound and was right underneath the basket and threw it on the other side. It's like, what?
Your favorite play, I know.
I'm like, what's going on here? I think they'll be better, but I still want to talk about the overview of the game, and we'll dive deeper into the individual players. You know, you said before we went on, and I agree with you, this is a shot making league. You can have the best roster in the entire NBA. If you don't hit shots, you're going to lose. We shot 37.8% overall. We shot 27.8% from three, and it's just not going to cut it. And we took 54 threes. And I think most of them, and this is the eye test. I didn't go back and watch the game again, but to the eye test, they seem to be within the flow of the offense. You know, they seem to be within the flow of the offense. I know Mike Brown wants to, you know, put up 40, 40 of them, because if you're a good 3-point shooting team and you're shooting it efficiently, you want to get up more attempts, right? And that was the issue, in my opinion, last year. I thought we shot it at a good percentage, but we weren't getting up enough of them. Now, well, I guess if you're inefficient too, you want to get up more too, right? Inefficient coming into the season. I don't know what we're shooting overall, but it might be league average, maybe.
I doubt it.
I doubt it, right? Over the last 3 games, we're getting up enough of them. Last game, it was 52% of our shots were threes. Last night, 54 of 98, so close to probably a little under 50, a little under 50% of our shots were
54 of 98 is more than 50%, because 54 of 100 is
right. Oh, that's
54%.
right. You're right. Over 50%. I mean, I'm not sure if that's what Mike. I know he wants over 40. I don't know if he's focused on the percentage of overall shots. He may just be focused on process and, are they good shots and are they taken within the flow of the offense?
Yeah, I don't have a problem necessarily with the threes, but you have to remember that long shots lead to long rebounds, lead to fast break opportunities, right? That's when you miss. So, when you have, what is that, 29 misses? Is that or 39 misses? 39 misses. That's a lot of transition opportunities. And what did you see? They killed us in transition. So some of that maybe not getting back, some of that not having deuce, some of that, there are, mitigating factors and circumstances. But when you take a lot of threes and you don't make them, it creates opportunities for the other team.
Yeah, 31-10 fast break points. Miami is trying to play faster this season as well. The Knicks defense just wasn't there. I agree with you. I do think Deuce helps that. His point of attack defense helps, covers up a lot of mistakes. And you talked about earlier, you could talk about it during the show, having those 3 gone lineups out there, and one of them is a stout defender, maybe that helps when he's out there with like a Kolick and a Clarkson, right? Yeah. So I think in terms of lineups, and I'm sure Mike Brown will look at it, when Deuce is out, we got to have stronger. Maybe you got to have Shamet. And I'm not saying Shamet is a super good defender, but he does, he does fight over screens. He does, he's physical. Maybe you want to have Shamet out there with Kolick at all times, if Deuce is not playing, in other words, having strong defensive lineups out there with these poor guard defenders. And my last point is, we're fans, so it's okay for us to get excited over wins. But Boston, not the team we know them to be, and we took advantage of it, and that's great. Cleveland, not the, due to their injuries, not the team, we had injuries too, but they had injuries to more key guys, right? And then you come into Miami, who, although they were out without Hero, they're going to be a stout defensive team. That they're not going to quit. what Miami is, is going to bring. And some things were exposed last night defensively. And again, that could have just been that, Deuce McBride was out.
But it also, I think, cements the reason why Deuce is such a good piece off the bench, even, when he started Huck Porty, even though Deuce is the better player in the Boston game, for example, or in in the Cleveland game rather. But I mean, it works either way. But I think it shows that he's really a necessary cog with some of those weaker defenders like Tyler and like Clarkson, and so it's very interesting to see when someone's missing, you kind of can judge and see their value, and he's an integral part to this team, and he's a and this is not an excuse. Like, the Knicks should have won the game anyway. Like, make some shots. Like, I don't. And really, it's really weird that this team is not making 3-point shots. Like, I think that they're getting good looks for the most part, and I'm not really sure. Like, these are good shooters who are shooting poorly. Like, I'm not really sure what the cause or the rhyme or the reason is. It just statistical variance? I mean, we're way below like their career averages. Like, you expect that, over the course of time, that's going to progress to the mean. And if it does, then it makes this team look a lot better. I mean, if you shoot 33% from three, which isn't great, you win last night, right? We only lost by 8 points. So, you 18 of 54 is not lighting the world on fire, but that would have been enough, right? And so, I don't have a problem with the volume. I don't really have a problem with the shot selection. I just think that we need to make them. And you're going to have nights like that, right, over the course of a season where they just don't go in. But I don't feel like we've had a night where they've gone in yet. You know what I mean? And you feel like once every 3 games probably should see that, right? I maybe that's unrealistic on my part, but I think, and I'm not saying every night, but I'm saying you should have some nights where you're, maybe not 50%, but 38, 40, like, but you should too have some nights where we're on fire and hot, like 45%. Especially if you're getting wide open looks. Now, if you're just chucking them from the cheap seats and forcing them, then that's one thing. But I don't think that's what the Knicks are doing. Do you?
No, I don't think so. And you bring up a great point. If you're focusing on process, then you should feel really good about what's happening with the Knicks. They're getting, they're getting the shots they need. They have, good, solid 3-point shooters on this team. And to your point, it'll even out over time. And once they start falling, you're looking at really high scoring games that would mitigate even a poor defensive night, right? If they're knocking down their threes at the clip at which we believe they can. So I think that's a good point. The in terms of the takes, I'm not a big fan of Karl Anthony Towns taking every trail 3 that he gets. I think he can make those shots. Don't get me wrong. Obviously, it's a trail 3, so you're going to be open. I just think it's just, if you miss it, that's it. Like, it's just, you're not working the shot clock. You're not moving the defense. And again, I'm not saying he should eliminate it from his shot diet. And I don't know how many he takes per night, but last night it just seems like he took a lot of trail 3s. Of course, you're going to be open, and I would just like him to just think about where we are in terms of how many good looks have we gotten so far. What's the time? What's the score? And that might be asking a lot for a center, right? That's more of a point guard's process, but I don't know. Maybe I'm overstating it. He can hit it from there. He is open. I just don't know how I feel about
Well,
it.
Queen, I'm kind of old school and I'm not used to this modern NBA yet. So the trail 3 is always a no, 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 yes proposition for me. Like, I don't want them to take it, but if they make it, I'm like, whoo, so that's kind of where I'm at with that. I agree with you, but he needs to get his shots up. Like Brunson had 26 shots, and I think we do need to find a way to get Cat more looks and feature him more. So if that's the only way that it can be done, I guess that's fine. I think there are better ways to do that, but I don't necessarily have a problem with him shooting 8 3-pointers a game, because historically he's a 40% guy from out there. He was a 25% guy from out there last night. So but I don't think Towns is the reason that we lost the game. Except maybe from the standpoint, the fouling, you know what I mean? We got them to the line early and often. And I don't understand, in a game where you're playing Miami, we get called for 2 moving screens in the fourth quarter when Bam Adebayo exists and sets a moving screen every time that he sets a screen. Like, let's be consistent in our application of the rules, please, is what I would say. Not the reason we lost, but still frustrating nonetheless. But I think that the more we feature Towns, the better off we're going to be in the long run. I don't think we've really done that so far in the Mike Brown era. And it's only 3 games, but I'd like to see his touches be higher. I'd like to see his shot volume higher. What do you think?
I agree with you. I do think, though, that he was in foul trouble last night, so that limited the number of shots that he can take. And I think Brunson's shots was up because nobody could hit the side of the barn. I don't think, Brunson came out gunning. We were running our actions. We were, moving the ball. Nobody could hit a shot. And when you have a shot maker, that's the time when they are supposed to step in. So I think that's what that was about, in terms of why Brunson took so many shots over the others. But last night's notwithstanding, I agree with you. We need to have some action, some sets, some plays, whatever you want to call it, where the ball is in Karl Anthony Towns' hands. We
I
just
want him
have
at the nail in the
say that again.
Sabonis role. I kind of want him at the nail in the Sabonis role. I think that should be a comfortable spot for him. I think that's where a lot of our offense should start. Maybe that's not his strong suit. I don't know, but I kind of feel like that puts a lot of pressure on the defense. He's a capable passer, so I'm not overly worried about that. I really would like to see more of that. That's what Mike Brown did when he was in Sacramento. I don't see why it couldn't work here. I'm not saying he's the same player as Sabonis. He's not, but he's certainly capable of flourishing in that role if asked. But I think the plain fact is that other than Bridges and Brunson, everybody shot the ball poorly last night.
They did. And to your point, like, if you told me that he wasn't using him that way because, it was a too big lineup and it's kind of different. There's no too big lineup. He's at the 5 right now with, when Mitch is out. So there's more opportunity to use him
and you need to, right? Because if you're playing him at the 5, that's part of the advantages that it brings, right? That's where he's going to shine, and so we need to do a better job of featuring him. He's an all NBA player for a reason, and he just doesn't get enough shots. I know, maybe sounding like David Smith, my guy, this morning, but I do think that he needs more shots. But I've thought that all along so far this season. I really think he should, within the flow of the game, but I think we should, find a way to get him 18 plus looks per game, in my opinion.
Yeah. I think we have to give him more touches. He might shoot, he might pass them, he might, but
yeah.
He needs more touches in the game. Listen, this is what we all thought. And listen, it's 3 games. It still may happen, is that anybody can initiate the offense. The ball may be in Bridges' hands, bringing it up initially. It may be in Brunson's hands. It may be in Towns' hands as a hub. We could start our offense in the hands of different players. And I've seen it with Brunson and Bridges, not so much with Towns. Last night's game, and then we'll get into the individual players. Well, I guess we could start with Brunson. Took 26 shots. I thought it was out of necessity because the team wasn't shooting well. Do you think that was the case, or do you think he's kind of sliding back into old habits?
I mean, look, nobody else was making shots. Like, what are you gonna do? And when he's on like he was last night, like, what do you want? Like, what? I don't. He was the only guy getting it done, and if that's the case, like, it's not like those other guys didn't have opportunities. Like, I mean, OG had 13 shots, and he only made 4. So it's and Towns was 2 for 8 from deep, and so. And the bench hit 1 3-pointer the entire night in like 20 attempts or something crazy like that. Like
22 if you count Josh. Yeah, Josh Hart came off the bench. Yeah, for 18.
18. So 1 of 18 from the bench from 3. That, that's awful. I mean, that's just beyond terrible. And that's that and the fouls were really the dooming features of this game, if for lack of a better phrase. They had a lot of free throws, and I think some of that's a function of Deuce not being in the game. He's our best point of attack defender, and he was missing. And when you get beat at the point of attack, it leads to people getting into the paint and fouls on your big men. That's right. I mean, that's basketball 101. And so
rotation.
Yeah.
You're in rotation,
And that's death in the modern. If you're in rotation, every offense is going to kill you in rotation.
If they're moving the ball well enough.
If they're moving the ball well, but that's something the Knicks have to figure out, because Deuce may not always be available. I mean, I know it wasn't an injury this time. I hope everything is okay with him. It said personal reason. Yeah. So I hope I
win this game even without Deuce.
Yeah,
I'm not saying Miami. Listen, I'm not underestimating Miami, but we hit a few more shots, we win this game, even though our defense wasn't
agreed.
Wasn't great. And Towns has to stay out of foul trouble. I don't know. Maybe I'm just stating the obvious, or I should save my breath, right? Because that also changes things, right? When he's on the bench. We're without Mitchell Robinson. So now if you're not playing him, now you got to come in with Hakporti, who tries hard, don't get me wrong, is a decent rebounder,
It's kind of a non-entity last night, though. He had like 2 boards and 0 points. I know he only played like 10 minutes, but I don't think he deserved more than that, right?
Yeah, he wasn't. But that's the point. That's part of the point where Karl-Anthony Towns has to be a bit more disciplined, because we don't have a lot behind him right now, other than Hakporti and Yabusele, who's not a 5, but Mike Brown has been playing. I don't know who's the 4, who's the 5, but he's been playing him and OG, at times still, So Karl-Anthony Towns has to be better, because the margins are slim behind him.
And the times with Yabu at the 5 have been underwhelming, in my opinion. Like, I think he's one of those guys who's just a 4. Like, he's not a positionally versatile guy to me. At this point, and maybe that'll change over the course of the season. Maybe it's just a bad stretch for him, where he's getting used to playing on a new team, whatever the case may be. But it's not been pretty from Gershon thus far,
at least offensively. I mean, rebounding wise, he's doing okay for us. He had 6 last night. 5 of them were offensive. The Knicks had 16 offensive rebounds. They have to be up. Last night, I mean, the second game against, who did we play? Boston. I think it was 21 offensive rebounds. I have to check that. I think it was 21. The Knicks are doing a really good job on the offensive boards, getting us second chance opportunities, which is great, because we're not shooting well. I don't think we're taking advantage of the second chance opportunities either, but he had 5 offensive rebounds last night. Josh had 3. Brunson had everybody had, except for Shamit, everybody had at least 1 offensive rebound last night. Let's talk about, where do you want to go next?
That's up to you.
It's not really much to say. It's not really much to say. Josh also didn't, he was 2 for 5. He only took 5 shots. Really reluctant to shoot. I don't know if that's the finger or if that's just Josh Hart, because there are times when his finger was fine and he would be reluctant to shoot. But in terms of the hustle, in terms of the offensive rebounding, in terms of the secondary playmaking, whether that's on a fast break, that nice pass he had hit, I think it was to Bridges in transition, and just even in the half court, getting them good looks. I like that, but he also had 3 turnovers last night. So he didn't play most of preseason, so I'll give him a little grace. But other than shooting, I kind of like the energy and the contribution from Josh Hart. He played close to, where's Hart, 30 minutes last night. I think some of that was because Deuce, was out of the game. Thoughts on Josh Hart?
Yeah, Josh is Josh. I mean, I'm never going to complain about a 5-shot performance from him. I think if he shoots a high volume of shots, it's probably bad for the Knicks. That's not his game. So, like, play your game, do your thing. He has to be a willing shooter, but I don't think Josh Hart is the reason we lost the game last night. I don't know that he was, peak Josh Hart either, right? I don't, like, when he's at his best, you can really absolutely tell that, this was a Josh Hart game. This, against Miami was not that, in my opinion. So, I'm not going to make him the scapegoat, but I'm certainly not going to, give him a lot of praise for last night's performance either. But I do think it's telling about, what we can expect from his minutes, right? I think with Deuce out, he got 30. I think when Deuce is healthy, that may be 24, 25, and so that's interesting, right? That's a big change from last year. Maybe that's a function of his back, and which apparently they say is fine.
I think that's just where the roster is right now. It's just we're just playing too many people for him to get the minutes that he got last year, right?
And that's fine. It's just a choice, right? It's a difference in the new year, and I think it's fine. I'm not again, not being critical of Mike Brown for that. I think that's more of a natural role for him. That's kind of where I want to see him, right? I think that's one of the changes that we were welcoming, because we were over reliant on him last year, and he ran out of gas. He admitted he ran out of gas in the Pacers series. He was done. He was, he didn't have any the requisite energy he needed to play well, and it wasn't the only reason we lost that series, but it certainly didn't help, right? Yeah. And so if we could keep him healthy and energized for the playoffs, that's definitely something that we need to do.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think any one player is the reason why we lost. It's like death by 1,000 cuts. That's why we lost. Like, it was just different things from different people. It wasn't one person, right? Lackluster defense, poor shooting. We didn't even get timely shots. Wiggins didn't shoot well last night, but he got that timely shot that basically put the game away. We didn't get any timely shooting last night. They made more free throws than we took. They were better in transition as well. So it wasn't like, to your point, any one person. It was just a little bit of everything. Porty, Kolek. Let's talk about Kolek. Didn't have a great game last night. 2 of 6, 1 of 4. He only had 1 turnover, but just didn't look himself, in my opinion. But I'm not gonna get on Kolek. Like, this is what you can expect from a second-year guard. They're gonna have some games where they're just shining, right? And then they're gonna have other games where they look mediocre, and they're gonna have other games where they stink. I'm not saying he stunk last night, but what I'm saying is, for a second-year guard, it is going to run the gamut because they're developing. They're going to do better against some teams than other teams. That's just his development. So I'm not getting on Kolek at all. I still question the roster construction. And again, this is not about Kolek. This is his natural progression. And this is the same thing that happened, if you can remember, with Grimes. As a fan base, we were all on Grimes for being inconsistent shooting. I think it was third year, but he was injured the first 2 years in and out of the lineup. Like, that's the natural progression of any young player. They are not going to be consistent, period. So I'm not getting on Kolek for that. But I still question the construction of this roster without a veteran backup guard, and we need it. Landry, when Clarkson was in there, can he handle the ball? Yes, he can handle the ball. Is he an underrated passer? Yes, he's an underrated passer. The thing with Clarkson is that he can pass, but he's not looking to pass. Like, that's not, that's not his, that's not his mindset. I think McBride handle has gotten, much better. It's tighter. I still think he's better off the ball than he is creating for himself or creating for others. So again, not crapping on Kolek last night. I still question the roster construction, not having a veteran point guard on the team, even if they're just situational, and then also not having another big on the team. Because look, Porty now is pressed into minutes where we need him to be decent, right? We don't know when Mitchell Robinson is coming back. When he does come back, he's going to be load managed. That means Porty Towns is foul prone. That means Porty is going to be, in lineups. And again, we're not expecting him to shoot threes and dish and things like that, but we are expecting him to be stout defensively, rebound well, set good screens. We're counting on that. And I'm just not a fan of having young players in prominent positions on the roster. I'm just not that they can't play at all or even be in the rotation. Just where they are in the rotation for me makes a difference. And I think that's somewhat of a weakness on this roster, in my opinion. Let me know in the chat, in the comments, whether you agree or disagree. I know a lot of you disagree with that. But your thoughts on Kolek last night?
Kolek, I mean, he is who he is, right? I don't expect, I don't expect Tyler to be like this amazing lead guard or anything. To me, when he plays well, it's gravy, right? I think he's been thrust into a role that I don't think he's particularly prepared for, just given, like you said. I mean, yes, he may be the best that we have, but I think that's much an indictment of guys like Clarkson and as it is, and the roster in general, not having a secondary ball handler, and that's one of the reasons why, the idea of Malcolm Brogdon was so appealing to me, even though the actuality of Malcolm Brogdon was very much not that, to be clear. But someone in that ilk, a Tyus Jones or I mean, I'm not saying he was available to us either, but just somebody in there who's a veteran who you can count on. And, that's the thing about relying on a rookie. Well, he's not a rookie, but he's essentially a rookie, right? He played last year, or in the year before, but spot minutes, really, so it's really his first legitimate rotation playing time. And frankly, he was good in the first two games and he was bad in this one. And if that's what you get, if he's good 2/3 of the time, I think you have to take it with a young player like that. I mean, he's, as you said, death by 1,000 cuts. He wasn't to blame for last night, but he certainly didn't help circumstances much. And that's the trouble and the fear, the worry, whatever you want to call it, of having players like Porty and Kolek, who aren't bad players, but you don't want to have to rely on them, because you're going to get a lot of performances like you saw last night with young players. It's just, it's just the way that it is, unless you're talking about elite young players, and we don't have any of those.
Right. And I do want to point out, look, Haporti played 10 minutes, Kolek played 10 minutes. So they didn't play a lot of minutes. But my point is, if they played well enough, maybe they get more minutes and we see less of a Yabusele, right? Maybe they get more minutes and maybe Clarkson's minutes is down a little bit. So I'm not like blaming them. They played 10 minutes. They did the best they could in those 10 minutes. But to me, playing behind Karl Anthony Towns, that's an important position. And playing behind Brunson, that's an important position. Because if you don't do it, then we got to go to a Clarkson. We got to go to a Deuce. And not that Deuce can't bring the ball up and initiate the offense, but now you're taking him away from what he does best, So
he wasn't even there last night.
And he wasn't even there.
But the thing about it is we're playing Ariel at the 5, and Cat at the 4. So it's just kind of, with him starting in there, I kind of like with Kolek, it's pretty clear that Mike Brown trusts him in the non-Brunson minutes to be the backup. But whether you agree with that decision or not is immaterial. That seems to be the role that he's going to have, in my opinion. I mean, he's 3 for 3 in that role so far, regardless of who else has been out there. So I think it's pretty clear that he views Tyler as the backup 1, which is fine. And we have enough secondary ball handlers to kind of make that a reality anyway, between McCall and Clarkson and and whoever else he plays with. They all kind of can share that responsibility. It's not like we're putting the ball in his hands every time and saying, go make plays, Tyler.
Right.
You know what I mean? And so, with who we have, he's got good court vision, good court sense, and so he's okay in that role. He had better games the first 2. But as you said, I think that's everybody. It's not just young players who do that. Like, OG Anunoby was 4 of 13. Like that's, so the up and down a roller coaster of that's just basketball, right? Every game is different. How people shoot. You're not always going to shoot well, but you don't have to shoot well to play well. But the minutes with Kolek were not good last night. Let's just put it that way. And the minutes with Clarkson were not good. The minutes with Yabusele, not good. And so
Shamet either. Yeah, Shamet was 0 for 4 from 3. 1 assist. I mean, Clarkson, you did get 3 rebounds. You got 2 assists, just 1 turnover. Yabusele, 6 points. You got a steal, just 1 turnover. Again, I don't want it to seem like I'm picking, I'm picking on these guys. I'm just pointing out how performances impact teams. This bench, who was supposed to be really good for us up to this point, really hasn't been, at least scoring rise. And I wonder if Mike Brown is going to start tightening things up a little bit. I doubt it, though. He played 10 last night. That might.
And all of those guys got a solid rotation. It wasn't like, Haporti was really the guy who got the smallest amount of minutes, I think,
for the starters. Yeah, Josh was basically the de facto starter with 30 minutes. Yeah.
And I think we probably started Haporti because they have the 2-headed monster of Kel'el Ware and Bam Adebayo, whom the Knicks could not stop last night. Bam Adebayo was a freight train for us last night. We did not do a good job defending him at all.
Well, he didn't shoot well, but he still was impactful, right? It didn't seem like he was 5 for 15.
Yeah, it sure didn't. That surprises me. So.
Yeah, he was 5 for 15 last night. Only 1 for 5 from 3. He went to the line 8 times, made all of them. 13 rebounds, 3 assists, 1 steal, and he also had 6 turnovers.
Okay, so maybe I'm wrong. I mean, sometimes the eye test doesn't.
He was still plus 10. I thought Jaime Jaquez. I hope I'm
Jaime
saying.
Jaquez Jr. Yeah, he
Yeah,
was huge last night.
yeah, he was huge last night. And Davion Mitchell, I was kind of surprised, and he hit that one big, 3-point shot because Brunson basically skated behind the screen and like gave him like 5 feet. And that might be the scouting report on him, right? He's not, somebody you would fight over the screen for, but he made us pay that time. Listen, disappointing loss. I really wanted us to like go 7-8-8-0. Just looking at looking at the schedule. I thought and still think Minnesota would probably be. I thought the first formidable opponent. But yeah, we got 2 more games on the road. Tuesday we play Milwaukee, 8 p.m. and then back to backs against home and away against Chicago. Friday we're in Chicago, so that would be 3 straight games on the road, and then we're back home Sunday against Chicago. Again, what do you want to see in the next game before we close this out?
Make some shots. Like, let's have a decent shooting game for 3 and see what that looks like. I want to see Deuce back in the lineup. I'd like to see Mitch back in the lineup. If he's out, like so we can actually get to see, like, this whole season has been, we haven't been whole yet. So I'd like to see everybody back in the lineup and in what their roles might be. I'd like to see Jordan Clarkson not be a brick fest. I'm really down on Jordan right now, as you could tell. Wasn't high on the signing to begin with, but he's kind of, I think he took 11 or 12 shots last night and made
2 of 11.
2 of 11.
15 minutes.
Yeah, he can't 11 shots in 15 minutes. He isn't gun shy, I guess.
That's his role. Put him up. Put him up.
Yeah, but you got to make some too. Like, it's not, and look.
But you know what, Jeff? They were decent looks though. Some of them, like, I didn't think that maybe all of them weren't, but some of them were decent looks that he just missed, just like the rest of the team. So I don't want to be too hard on him. Some of them were chucks, but I think I would have to watch the game again. I thought some of them were good looks that he just missed. One of them was a nice drive to the basket, and he missed the layup. But the way he was able to kind of cut through the defense and get to the rim was good. So I get what you're saying. I'm not saying I disagree in terms of him being an inefficient player, but we need scoring off of that bench. Like last year, Deuce led us in scoring, and he didn't have any other support other than that. We were one of the worst benches in the league, right? So
we still one of the worst benches.
We still one of the right. So and I don't expect to get much scoring from Kolek. Kolek is going to be the one kind of managing the team, though I do like the shots that he takes. He hit a 3-pointer. He's confident. He's crafty. He can get to the rim. I like that about Kolek, but his role is going to be basically to make sure we get good shots, right, and keep the defense honest. We're going to need Clarkson to score. We're going to need Yabusele. I appreciate his rebounding. 5 good offensive rebounding, second chance opportunity for us. We're going to need him to knock down shots. He got real. Listen, the space the Knicks are getting on these 3-point shots is unbelievable. Like, these are wide open shots that they're getting. Shamet, 4 3-pointers. They were good shots. He missed all 4 of them. Like they have to hit. The bench has to hit shots. I said in the beginning, it's not enough just to have a deep bench. You got to have a deep bench that performs. Yeah. Anything else, Jeff?
No. Well, I think that Milwaukee's going to be a tough test again. I mean, they're not a pushover. I don't necessarily believe in their backcourt, but Giannis is playing out of his mind. And
the ball is in his hands most of the time, I would think.
Yeah, and so, well, and who do you get to guard him, right? I mean, OG's going to have to step up and play big, or We don't want to get Towns in foul trouble again, so he needs to play smarter, and just get a W. Let's get back on the winning track. I think that, look, it's an 82 game season. You're going to have games where you're going to lose games, right? Nobody goes 82-0. No, the best teams go, lose 15, 16 times. So if we win 2 out of every 3, then we're going to be, cream of the crop in the Eastern Conference, because that's a lot of wins, right? So, no need to panic. Just, get right. Fix the transition defense, but I think a lot of that with Deuce in the game is going to take care of itself. Like, if he's back for Milwaukee, I don't anticipate us. And plus, with the roster that Milwaukee has, I don't think that they're as designed to to kill us the way that Jaquez was able to last night. I don't really think they have a player in that mold, unless I could be wrong, but I don't.
They start off Ryan Hollins, Gary Trent Jr., AJ Green, which I think is 3 guards, if I'm not mistaken, Giannis and Miles Turner. But again, Geoff, if you're not, it's not even about their roster. If you're not hitting shots, anybody has an opportunity to win.
Absolutely.
If you're not hitting shots. And, I just noticed, for all of Karl-Anthony Towns' foul trouble, he still played 36 minutes.
But sometimes when you're in foul trouble, you don't get to play as aggressively in your 36 minutes. In other words, if you're worried about picking up that 4th foul and going to the bench and someone coming into the paint, you may not challenge the shot like you can if you're, if you have, a full complement of fouls. And I think the frustrating thing with Towns about his fouls is they're mostly dumb fouls. Right? Like low IQ, like if he's going in and he's like playing a hatchet man, keeping someone from an easy layup, I don't think most people would have a problem with that. But usually the Towns foul diet is 2 offensive fouls that, from him running over a player from, starting at the top of the key, and then, a reach in, or, a couple of those, like, or a foul that's 80 foot from the basket. You're like, what are you doing, bro? Come on. So, it's just low IQ fouls. And I'm not saying he's a low IQ player. That's not what I'm saying. But I think that I think he has a tendency to pick up silly fouls. And if he could just be a little more patient, a little wiser in those moments, I think that it would go a long way to helping him out and stay on the floor and be, his full aggressive self when he's on the floor.
For sure. Geoff, I appreciate you. Appreciate everybody watching. We couldn't go live today, but, this is a premiere, so you all can interact with each other in the chat, even though we, hopefully I'll be in a place where I can watch the show, where I can watch the show as well and comment with, with the rest of you. Geoff and I will be back live Wednesday, right? Wednesday.
Yeah, Wednesday.
12:30. To recap and react to our win against the Milwaukee Bucks. Again, we will be in Milwaukee at that time. I appreciate everybody listening. Until next time.
Sister, you're one of a kind.
Yes.
Oh, sister, it's time you
That's
turn. Dope Soul.
Where you at?
Dope Soul.